RocklandWorldRadio.com.
We put the rock back in Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
Hey, this is Jordan Rudess of Dream Theater, and you're listening to RocklandWorldRadio.com.
And in your soul, now listening to the cynics, it's very easy to say no, very hard to say yes. I will send the song out to two people tonight. One of my all-time heroes, Harry Chapin, and my dear friend Bob Benjamin, who just keeps pushing us all with his inspiration. One day we'll beat this, we'll kick it in the ass, and we won't have to be here every year. We'll find something else to do now. God bless you. This noisy guitar.
Oh, yeah. Rock and roll with Joe Dorso and Stone Caravan. Noisy guitar from the Light of Day Benefit Concert 2013. And here with me in the studio is birthday boy Joe Dorso. Zoom out.
Hello.
And here we are with the magic of radio and video and streaming on the internet. We bring you Joe Dorso on Joe Dorso's birthday. Happy birthday, Joe.
Thank you, Richard.
Again, I'm glad to have you here today.
It's good to be here on my birthday.
What a special treat this is. And that was just Joe playing one of the many charitable benefit concerts to provide support and funding for one of the many organizations he has been affiliated with for many years, the Light of Day concert. And you were telling me just before we went on live that you were at the Hungerthon dinner last night.
Last night was the Why Hunger 40th anniversary gala dinner, which was monumental in many ways. It was a celebration of 40 years of the work that Harry Chapin had started with his partner Bill Ayers. And it was also the passing of the torch last night from Bill Ayers stepping down as our executive director, handing it over to Noreen Springstead, who's fantastic.
So has Bill Ayers been
He's
organizer for 40 years?
40 years. Him and Harry started
since the beginning.
Since the beginning. That's his baby with Harry's. And so he stepped down last night. He's still going to be our ambassador. He's not retiring. And he made that very clear last night. I'm not retiring. But there'll be someone running the day-to-day, and that's Noreen, who's fantastic. Yeah. And then we had, last night, Grace Potter got the Harry Chapin Achievement Award, I believe it was, and Warren Haynes presented it to her with a nice speech, and then the two of them, Warren played acoustic guitar. Actually, they both sang. They did Gold Dust Woman by Fleetwood Mac, and then later in the evening, Paul Schaefer presented another Harry Chapin Award to Felix Cavallari from the Rascals, and then they played Good Lovin', It's a Beautiful Morning, which actually, how many times you walk out of the house on a beautiful day like this, and I know so many people just go, "It's a beautiful morning," because it's one of those things. So it was a pretty great night, and then we ended it singing Harry Chapin's Circle. So I was on
Circle, right?
Got a chance to sing that last night.
Last night. Where was that?
That was at the Chelsea Lighthouse on Chelsea Piers in Manhattan.
Right.
So it was quite a night. It was and it was good for me because I've been working really hard on this festival and late into every night, over the last...
That's this festival right here.
And so it was kind of good for a few hours, though I was speaking about it to certain folks there, and we were raffling off some tickets.
But you had to be taken out of the office.
And that was good, because I knew the next 3 or 4 or 5...
Nothing much else was taking you out of the office.
That's
because
true.
When did you hunker down? Last September?
Yeah, it's been a good 4 or 5 months, and then as you get closer, it's crossing every T, dotting every I, putting out any little fire.
Yeah, the vibrations start happening faster.
Because we're small. I mean, I learned a little bit how to delegate this year, which was good, and I've got some great people helping me, but you're still involved in all the moving parts.
It's grown.
Yeah.
It's not like you're doing exactly the same thing as last year, the first annual Rockland Bergen Music Fest.
The growth process probably would have been to add one more stage this year and keep it to one day, as opposed to adding another stage and adding a whole other day, which is a really big step. But I thought, once you're set up for the one day, we might as well do 2. Now, obviously, besides all the logistics that have to be figured out in the booking and the financing, all that stuff, like that stuff is finite. That's on a piece of paper. You can work that out. As any outdoor festival, is the weather, which we're looking, temperature-wise, we're looking great. Right now, they're calling for maybe some showers. That could change, and,
I know there's going to be a thunder shower when I'm supposed to perform on Sunday. On my app, yeah.
No, it's not going to. It's going to pass through. Because Monday actually looks beautiful, so that's going to show up on Sunday. So we are going to, but, this past weekend was Clearwater, and they were calling for, thunderstorms and lightning on Saturday that never happened. So you just never know. All you can do is prepare for the best. And, we're a small festival, so people can bring tents and umbrellas and tents, umbrellas.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so, blankets.
No, wait. Tents, as in sleeping over for the next day?
No, 10 by 10 pop-ups. When I say tents, I'm sorry.
10 by 10, that's 10 foot tall.
No, the 10 by 10s, those, yeah.
You're kidding.
And we had them last year. We're asking, since there's more people coming this year, setting them up towards the last 1/3 of the venue.
Right, so people don't have to try to see.
The stages are up and it's a flat ground, but it's good because you can hang out under your tent, and also you can grab your chair, move up front, and then have that as a reprise when you need it.
Very cool.
As we The great thing about the German Masonic Park, as you know, is and they have a lot of big gathering and like kind of ethnic and food festivals.
They have nothing like this.
No, nothing like this whatsoever. But the great thing about this festival, it'll never grow into being bigger than 4,000 or 5,000 people per day, just because people are paying a certain fee to get in here, where they have to be able to see that main stage artist clearly and comfortably. When you're doing a big Italian festival, the German festival, you can put in 10, 15,000 because everyone's eating and drinking. This is about seeing something.
Sure.
So, and we won't be at those numbers this year, but ideally, as we go down the line, I'd love to invite the Indigo Girls of the world and Jackson Browns and John Prines.
Right.
People like that who I've always wanted to have here in Rockland Bergen, right on this border, who we never really get here. Some of them will occasionally play Bergen Pack, which is a great theater,
Sure.
but here in Rockland we don't have a performing arts center.
Well, now you've established this as a annual event, and it's getting a wonderful response. The name is growing. The brand is getting more well known, and I was really impressed with how much parking there was. You drive behind that
There's
wonderfully
10 acres of parking.
decaying building,
Right.
which is a sight unto itself. It's probably the ninth wonder of the world.
Which I think should be the new Rockland Performing Arts Center. At least that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah. Putting some of the funds.
I'm
into,
just trying to throw that out there to
go
some.
fund.
I'm pretty sure
Rockland Arts Center.
it used to be a retirement home for older Freemasons, and I think eventually it will be that again, which would be great. But I'd like, at the same time, if it doesn't turn into that, real estate around this area is kind of difficult. So if you have a building that exists already, it would need a tremendous amount of work.
The architecture is really stunning.
It's beautiful.
Also,
I mean, it'd be incredible. You need federal and state funding, all that stuff that comes with
maybe a
PACs.
grant or two.
Yeah,
and
but at the same time,
some big marquee.
Yeah, but if you don't say it, then it's never going to happen. So.
Right on.
So
The intention's there. So
Yeah.
really great parking. If you think this is going to be too many people in one spot, you've never seen a more enjoyable and ease of access. It's well coordinated. There's tons of parking behind that building. I was like parking on a fairway of a golf course.
Someone had said last year, one of my favorite comments was, I felt like I was at a family barbecue with a lot of famous people.
Well, it was your birthday.
Right.
At least that afternoon was topped off with a huge birthday song to Happy Birthday to
which
Joe.
I just only kind of remember. It was kind of a blur, in all honesty.
Well, it was warm. It was warm.
Yeah, no, I think it was just the culmination of everything. Like it was.
Your whole being was in tune to be that moment. So it's probably very surreal.
Yeah.
Did you get some footage of it?
Yeah, there is some footage, and we'll put. I think some of it's on the website. Certainly, there's some photos.
And the website, by the way, you can go to is Rockland Bergen Music Fest, right here. You don't have to zoom in. RocklandBergenMusicFestival.com. Search Google or just type in RocklandBergenMusicFestival.com and see the dozens and dozens and dozens of performers from all over. And different
Can I say
genres.
what a few of these performers are? Let's talk
Please,
about that.
let's talk about what's going on. So this happens this upcoming weekend on the 27th and 28th of June, just coming up this Saturday. And tickets are available right now from the Rockland Bergen Music Festival.
We have 3 stages this year. There'll be Stefan's Turning Point stage, which you'll be performing on, which I'm very...
Is that near the beer? I was hoping.
Yes, it is. For those who don't know, Richard's a very talented singer-songwriter and band leader. And we named it after our dear friend Stefan Connolly, who was recently killed, who ran the bar area of the Turning Point and the restaurant upstairs for years, and just a wonderful, wonderful soul. So in his honor, we named that stage after him. The Seeger stage, which will be on the main grassy field, which is named after Pete, obviously. And the Glow stage, which is named after my mom. And that's sponsored by Canataro Park Avenue Financial. My good buddy Lou stepped up and he wanted to get involved this year, and he did some underwriting, which was fantastic. And that's also on the main stage. So what will happen is the Glow and Seeger stage will go flip-flop back and forth. And all the food and beverage is over in the Stefan's Turning Point stage. So there will always be people having to, eat
Flow.
and drink. And besides people coming, especially to see the different performers on Stefan's Turning Point stage, there'll be some people who maybe normally wouldn't catch someone there. And as they're grabbing their, their burger, their craft beer, or whatever, their slice of pizza, they're like, oh, who is this? And I wanted that little bit of discovery to go on.
And that's all considered when you're plotting and strategizing a live event with this amount of people.
The flow of people going
the
through,
entertainment,
right.
the food,
Right.
the rest areas.
Even to like this year, like when people come in through the main entrance, like last year there was like 2 or 3 ways to get into the field. This year we're going to have them come in through maybe one main area because we've had, I think it's as many as 15 501c3s, a lot of the local Rockland Bergen charities that I've invited in to be our partners on this.
Well, they'll have tables.
They'll have tables, so everyone has got to kind of walk through and see these different organizations. And we'll have some vendors there, but the food and beer will be off in another section. But I really wanted, that's kind of where this year was the real, what I would say is the defining characteristic. Wasn't so much the 2 days or the third stage, was having the escalation of different charitable organizations there, and I really
having everyone come through one area to see them all. It gives them an opportunity to get in front of.
And my idea was that
wouldn't see
the
them.
fans that support a lot of these artists, I don't mean to sound naive. A lot of these folks are really good folks, people who get involved in stuff. The old Harry Chapin, they do something. But there's some people who may have not met the right organization or person in an organization. So I thought by having the convergence of these music fans and these organizations that people would meet each other and something might go on, and you never know. But until you put everyone in that same spot. So I've been saying I'm hoping that at least one person has a life-changing experience this weekend by, because if someone walks through and they see Light of Day, which is Parkinson's, or they see Why Hunger, which is hunger and poverty, not that you don't have a caring or a concern, but maybe it's something that doesn't really just pull you, because it is a time and commitment to get involved in these organizations. But there might be something else. We have cerebral palsy there. There's just all these different organizations that there may be something else that affects them in their lives or pulls at their heartstrings, and then maybe something happens there.
And they could at least have a conversation, a little dialogue, and there's different levels of volunteerism,
Right,
as
exactly.
we can call it. Then not everyone has to take over, full-time, part-time,
Right.
whenever you got some time.
Right, and there's actually an organization on site that is basically organizes volunteers to help out other
It's like an
organizations.
agency, volunteer
Exactly,
agency.
exactly.
What are your interests?
Right.
You like outside work?
Yes. So it's getting people involved, getting people out of their living rooms, clicking us on the boob tube,
Right.
and that human interaction, which we all sometimes lose. Sometimes we're on the internet, and I realize
More and more.
Yeah, I realize I'll have conversations with friends and or business associates that goes on, and then I will sit back and think, when was the last time I talked to this person? Because you're so used to just banging out these emails.
Pretty
and
much
text.
just the information that you want to
Right.
transfer out and get some kind of reply just
Right.
about the information, not how are you? You don't look
Right.
so well.
Right,
You-
'cause
you just got a great haircut.
Right, exactly, yeah. All those
By the
things.
way, your hair's looking very good.
Thank you very much. And I tend to be an over smiley face, over exclamation when I do my text and more my emails because I always we have Neil Berg, who's one of my partners on this and my dear friend. We always say that sometimes emails always get read incorrectly depending where you put the inflection as you're reading it. So you have to almost over emoticon an exclamation so people know you're saying it in a nice way and not a
You're
snide
feeling
way.
it.
Right.
I'm feeling this information a little bit more,
Right.
and I want you to know that little smiley face.
So,
capital letter
Right.
or
Right.
lowercase.
Right,
Sometimes
right.
should I use caps or
Right.
lowercase?
I sometimes, when I'm answering back a lot, because there's been a lot of information going back and forth, I'll say, I've answered below in caps. Now, caps I know is sometimes considered yelling, but I want it to stick out from the small letters. That
You're
they
more
have.
into the graphic art of it.
Right, exactly. So.
Turning it into a poster for you. Speaking of Neil was there last year singing Happy
Yes,
Birthday.
he was, and he would have been there this year, but he's performing, him and Rita Harvey both,
Right.
June 27th and 28th. They're in Springfield,
I saw
Illinois.
that, yeah.
So they won't be there. And one of the things we had discussed for this year is maybe bringing in a Broadway component to the Rockland Bergen Music Festival, which has never really
Hey,
been done.
Broadway's been rocking lately, too.
It has been.
Yeah.
It has been, but we're trying to figure out, do we do snippets of different shows for people, or maybe the performers who are stars who also do these other musical projects? We're trying to figure that part out. So we have another year to really,
Of course, they could sing any song they want. Just
right.
come and perform something.
Right. And, maybe that turns into a Friday night event, because there's a pavilion there where we can do something covered and 500 or 600 people, and that's part of it. We
got to get numbers on what it's going to take to turn that building around.
Yeah. You're
inside outside.
I think a good Powerball win would do it for us.
Yeah. All right, play Powerball, and your winnings, JoeDorso.com. Just send them right over to Joe. He'll know how to make that work. Once again, we are talking about the Rockland Bergen Music Festival here in the town of Tapan.
Yes, Tapan, yeah.
It's Tapan, right over the border of Bergen County. So everyone from Jersey can come on board, and there's all these performers have played everywhere.
Yeah, well, it was very fun. I have an intern who's this great kid, Jared, who's been doing kind of a Twitter Facebook campaign each day, putting up different artists. And I think he was, when he came upon John Sebastian, the video he put up was from Woodstock of Darling Be Home Soon, and there's 400,000 people playing, and and I think it was kind of cool watching him discover, or hitting me back the other day and like, oh my God, I love Willie Nile. I've heard the name, but now I'm watching these videos. This guy's amazing. And I got an email from a senior VP of the second largest concert promoter in the country. So it's Live Nation, AEG. Those are the two biggest. So, and it was a really nice note saying, "What a wonderful festival you've put together. If I lived on the East Coast, I'd be there." And a veteran legendary agent sent me the same email saying, "If I lived on the East Coast, what a great bill."
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of festivals are put together basically for dollars and cents and commercialism. I'm not smart enough to do that. I tend to operate from as a fan.
There's really been
artistically,
nothing like that.
There isn't anyone on this bill.
For sure.
Maybe one or two out of all those that I haven't either worked with, performed with, or know. So this is really like, and I've been very fortunate that I'm friendly with a lot of talented people. From either my past life of working at a desk job in the music business, or as a touring musician, or as an organizer of Light of Day.
Exactly. It's everything you've ever done in your entire life has taken you to this step to be prepared. Well, Joe, how did you get here? Well, like my last step was there. This was just one step away from my last step in whatever direction. And so you've gathered a lot of wisdom and experience without really realizing what you were going to put it toward. But this gives you an opportunity
to put that all together.
Besides to play.
Which is always my last thought of the day.
Right, well, because all you have to do is pick up your guitar, and
that's the
that's
easy part.
there you go. But to play with your friends,
right.
to have people who aren't musicians come and enjoy it from the local communities, all in one spot, and then bring together all these wonderful charitable organizations. I mean, you have taken everything that you're about, which is what this Rockland Bergen Music Festival is all about. It's about everything that Joe has been involved in, everything he's come up against and helped supported. And the bands that you've played with, and the community that you live in and work in, and all that experience with the Neil, putting it all together, and this is it.
Well, and I also feel like in Rockland, I've always lived on the border of Rockland and Bergen my whole life. Grew up in Tapan, and the end of my street was Northvale, New Jersey. I've lived many years now in Park Ridge, New Jersey, and Pearl River, New York's down the street. So I've always been on the border.
And when performing in your early days of Joe and Caravan, you were playing Jersey just as much.
I was playing Jersey even more because Asbury Park's always been kind of a mecca for the artists. You
enjoyed it down there also.
But Nyack certainly was an early spot for me, as was Greenwich Village and CBGB and all that other stuff. So Rockland for many years, we've been a drive-through county. We're the smallest county in New York State. Sometimes a forgotten county because we sit right outside the most important city in the world. So it's very easy to sometimes forget Rockland, or some people do. But at the same time, as you know, there's so many great things that go on in this county that should be known, and it's great artists and great people and all that type of stuff. But there's also many people in this county who, I don't say this in a scolding way, who don't support a lot of that. We've got this very cool theater that we're sitting in here where there's great shows all the time, and it should be a full house for every show. And maybe a lot of times there are, but sometimes there's empty seats. And there's people out there who love it, but it's getting the word out to them. And also getting people out of their homes sometimes.
Out of their comfort zone.
Right, exactly.
Disconnect.
Because you could sit home and watch television for 2 or 3 hours, or come to a great theater and have live television, live theater.
That's the in-person experience where it becomes a chemical reaction almost. When you get a field full of people clapping their hands and singing along with someone, it's a spiritual experience.
Right. Yeah. No. And I think, and you have a conversation, you meet someone who maybe you didn't know. Now, listen, there's days when I think we're all guilty of it. Well, maybe we don't want to talk to anyone. You want to sit down and just veg. Okay, that's fine. But that can't be every day, because then the wealth of your life gets drawn out. I mean, it gets sucked out.
Not if people know you, have your number, see you on the street.
Right.
You can't withdraw because the people around you keep pulling you out and keep pushing you out into
and sometimes there aren't people to do that for someone. So I think by people knowing that something's going on, we'll see, you see it in your theater, I see it in my shows, we'll see someone come by themselves. And I've always been that person. Like, if there's something I want to see and there's no one who wants to come along, I'll go. I don't want to miss out on that experience. So by having, this county trying to, one of the great things that's gone on is I've met a lot of people this last year in the county on the business front. Now, I've had Caravan Management here, which is my company for years, running Neil Berg's Left Field Production for years, but maybe meeting some other folks who do things very foreign outside the entertainment world. So I decided early on I wanted to join the Rockland Business Association, which, I'm really not a Chamber of Commerce guy. You know that. I mean, that's just not where I come from. But that was kind of being a little closed-minded, because there's plenty of good people there, as well as Rockland Business Association. And if I wanted this to be a Rockland event, as well as a Bergen County event, I needed to let other people outside of musicians and music fans know what's going on, because I wanted that to grow. And I also knew that to get the financials of putting something this together, I was going to need to bring them, involve some smaller sponsors.
Something this big definitely needs the alliances of a lot of support throughout the county.
Right.
Plus, they want something
Yes.
to attach and be a part of, something to support.
Especially
and
quality.
so you were bringing them something that they needed, and they're bringing something to you that you need.
I think that'll keep growing.
Yes.
Like this year,
That's what we call the win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win.
because the audience and the event itself is a win.
Right.
So you get the musicians, the audience, the businesses. It's winning all over.
This year, Rockland.
Who else do we have, Joe?
Well, I'm going to talk about some of those folks who came on board, and then I'm going to get back to the artists, because the artists I want to really dig into. But, Alto Music has always been a great friend to everyone.
Been here forever.
Yeah. So they're helping on gear. They did a sponsorship. Rockland County Tourism, the county, helped me with I Love New York and getting the word out to outside of the area. Verizon Fios. Atlantic Label Printing. My cousin owns that one. They've been helping us on the printing. The Journal News LoHUD. They stepped up. Douglas and London, a law firm, McLaughlin and Associates, Washington, D.C., kind of a polling group, but someone who went to a high school, who's older than me, went to my high school, but knew there was a lot of great organizations involved and wanted to help out, so he did small underwriting. Just having those, or the Palisades Center, and it wasn't like they wrote a big check. They didn't do it. What they did was they did something nice and small. But what I was really appreciative of was 3 Saturdays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., they let us set up acoustic music, and songwriters would come by, and we'd play upstairs near the IMAX Theater and just hand out flyers and let people know about the festival, which, getting the word out, we were doing radio stuff, we were doing internet stuff, but it's amazing after all the week, you think like all these weeks going by, you think everyone knows what's going on. People are like, well, what is this? I don't know what's going on. We deal with it all. We deal with it.
Divide.
We deal with that all the time. having internet radio like you involved, having homegrown radio out of New Jersey, WFUV, WFDU, The Peak, all these, just trying to get that word out. And I think part of my job has been an education process. Last year was, it was climbing the mountain. This year I feel like I got a few steps up. Whereas people were walking by, I had set up at the Nyack Street Fair and the New City Street Fair. We set up a tent again, and people would walk by and go like, wow, this is incredible. These people are playing here in Rockland, because we're so not used to having something like this. Like, people had to be educated.
We are really used to not having anything like this. But don't let that stop you.
No.
Don't get used to that.
No, not at all.
Break
The thing about
that.
Rockland, I've always said is, in the turning point, what John has done, John McAvoy has always had great talent there for
Always,
years.
yeah.
But what Rockland is very rich in is having fantastic to amazing, great local homegrown talent that sometimes doesn't get the platform that it should. That's why it was really important for me, and I struggled a little bit with the local stage, as we called it last year, and Stefan's turning point stage of this year, is like, well, if majority of people are coming to see the main stage artists, when they've got to run for some food and beer, do we just put speakers up in those areas so you can still hear what's going on that stage? And then I was just like, there's an old Harry Chapin line about a captive audience, which he used to use for mostly for charities. But my whole thing was, we have all this great talent here in Rockland. Well, these people are going to come through here. Let's have them performing as well, because and I just thought that you. All right, you might miss 5 minutes or 10 minutes while you're getting some food or beer of someone but you might trip on someone who you should know. And I thought that was a good trade-off. So
I think so.
So I've been, and then we're bringing in, we got Growler and Gill coming in with some great craft beers. Bailey's Smokehouse, which is, how many thousands of people go there every week. It's great.
The Smokehouse of Rockland.
Right, exactly. Denise Marie Catering, Posa from up in Nanuet, and then some small, like the Rockland Boulders, they're setting up a table, and I set up a table at their thing the other night to get the word out. So it was just kind of like,
could be an alternate festival location.
Yeah, we were,
maybe for the fall.
Yeah, it was that point's already been brought up to me, and I said, there's one thing I love about German Masonic Park. A, it's the town where I grew up in.
Right.
Two, it's just such an unusual, as you know, having this 10 acres of this Norman Rockwell scene. It's like it's an unusual village in the middle of it's
an environment unto itself. It's very unique and eclectically.
And then how much more Americana
timeless.
as you're playing music as the train rolls through the back of the field.
Yeah.
And it's not, the light rail commuter NJ transit train. This is like cargo trains going to upstate New York, and it's just, every time I see it, I want to start singing Arlo Guthrie, Steve Goodman songs, But there's something very special about that space,
Yes.
So doesn't mean we can't extend it out to other places in the county.
Well, you could call it something else too.
Right.
Just
Right.
now that you got the connection.
And also,
as we say.
Yeah. And also this year what we did was we expanded it out to the 76 House, the Turning Point, the Residence Inn in Orangeburg, and the Holiday Inn in Orangeburg. So they'll all have music being programmed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's a lot of moving pieces this year.
Well, it was, last year's accomplishment of getting it out and getting it up and having it happen was probably the main focus last year. Let's just get this done. Let's see if we can actually accomplish this, get the bands, and everything comes through, and everybody goes and has a wonderful time. This year, you've got much more purposeful extensions to it, much more purpose, because you can get the concert done. Now, how about putting, multifaceted reasons behind it and how it's going to work and what more we can get out of it besides just presenting a wonderful concert for people?
It's funny you said that, Richard. I sat there, going back 2 months ago, about as this idea formed, and I realized as we were adding on different charitable organizations that I was starting to get into uncharted territory. And I thought, my musician, my caring side, as I jokingly refer to my inner Harry Chapin side, started coming out saying, "This is great, I want this," and then the business side stood up and said, well, maybe there's a darn good reason why no one's ever done this before, because it's not, you're not making any money from the real estate that's in your, and I understand that part. But there was also the part like, listen, I do this once a year. I could really make it something that I'm personally very proud of. So as the bill got put together and as we kept on moving forward, and then, this past Monday, WCBS 880 AM aired a minute 7 times, I think, during the course of the minute interview. They'd come to my house, and that was the exact story that they wanted to tell, was about that, about all these different charitable organizations being there. And then I think today just came out, the Associated Press picked up on the story, and it goes on their newswire to 1,400 newspapers today. So financially, I'm not sure if it's the right decision, but it was certainly a validation on a caring artistic level, where I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. If these,
and you're still talking. You look relatively like you've had some sleep.
Well, and having a night last night honoring Bill, being part of that whole
Energized.
thing. And I sat there. I was just telling a friend, my buddy Joe Rapolo, who I run Songwriters by the CC series with, out of New Jersey. It was a very special evening for me last night because my wife and kids couldn't make it. They were down the shore visiting some friends. So I'd gone by myself, and I'm a board member now, and seeing people that you love and know, and seeing people who I grew up respecting and working with. There was Barbara Carr and John Landa from John Landa Management. They've managed Bruce Springsteen forever. Seeing people, the heads of ASCAP, seeing Steve Martin, not the comedian, but a legendary music agent. He was there. People there to honor Bill. And then I went to find my table, see where I was seated. And I'm not sure who did this yet. And it could have been a chance, or it could have been something that was done directly. But I was seated with Sandy Chapin, who is Harry's widow, and the mother of Jen Chapin and all the Chapin kids, and just an incredible family. And I was seated with them last night at that dinner. And that, again, it could have been, we have an extra seat, put Joe there. It could have been something or it could have been like, we should have. But it would definitely had an impact on me. It was an emotional thing, and I didn't certainly verbalize. I just kind of sat there looking around saying, well, that was very special to sit there as her husband was being honored for this organization, 40 years, to share in that with the family at the table.
Right.
And it was definitely a moment. And I think that kind of puts fuel in, at least I know it puts fuel in my tanks.
I would say energize and comfort at the same time.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you feel like all that stuff that you do, because a lot of this, I think from folks who aren't involved, they see, here's the article in the newspaper. Oh, I hear it on the radio. And, that's something that doesn't go on daily or frequently, or maybe not at all in their lives. But being involved in these organizations, sometimes I get that platform. But the reality of this, it's hundreds and thousands of hours by yourself at a desk on a computer doing work with 2 or 3 other people, and it's as unglamorous as it gets. It's not anything that's like. So when those little moments come by, either self-made in your head or real moments that you need to recognize, I make sure that I take a moment and just go, okay, this is I don't want to sound too hippie-ish about it, but karmic, universe, God, whatever you want to say, kind of just going like this to you, and you have to recognize those moments. And even if it's just your own self doing that for yourself, it's still something that keeps you moving forward.
Yeah, you have to step outside yourself and just see, where it is and who you're sitting with as part of the family. It's wonderful that you. As you say, everyone's going back to their offices, but they do come out in a feeling of mass appreciation for what everyone does, and you're part of that. We like to say, the good guys,
right? Well,
you're one of the good guys.
As of today, a 51-year-old man, you learn to recognize those moments that aren't the normal moments.
Oh yeah, no.
As a kid, sometimes they might pass you by, but as you get older, you realize I should appreciate this moment. This is something going on here.
Well, as a kid, you can pass it by quickly, but then as an adult in a reflective state, you can go back if you still have the memory and say, man, that was something else right there. I didn't realize it was just part of my day, but that moment led to this, and you can, when you backtrack it a little bit also.
Right, because the worst is to have a moment like that happen And sometimes the best ones you don't have to do or say anything. You just get soak it in and enjoy the moment.
Right, you didn't exactly expect it.
But
You didn't know what
sometimes,
it was
you're
saying.
supposed to seize the day. And the worst thing is when you're in the car driving home and you let that moment slip where you should have done something or said something. You didn't seize it. It's like,
Or something that you don't do, which is not show up.
right. Well, yeah.
You got to show up.
Yeah, got to show up. You got to show up. I mean, there's no way to feel someone else's physical energy, and there's no way to get your energy across by not being there. And that's, the being there part is, and that's the sacrifice as a family guy. We just,
Huge.
We just had Father's Day, and sitting there, and my son now being 13, he can do some more stuff with me, helps me out on gigs, or he's come to Europe with me this summer. But there's times, I've sat there and, I'm mostly playing my own songs, but I'll sing like Cats in the Cradle, talk about like a guilt father song, and you sit and you're like, I always thought that song was a great reminder to make sure that you, and sometimes when you do have that downtime, instead of sitting on the couch, to get up and like, hey, what do you want?
Connect.
Connect. And then whatever level that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Asking about a video game that you may not really care about, but he's not going to remember the conversation about the video game. He's going to remember that you were that or that
Close.
Yeah, there's maybe those unspoken word things,
It's totally unspoken word
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
It's that primal human feeling of being connected.
Right.
That you have a connection with someone and something, and the more you know that someone, the more that connection grows.
Yeah.
Speaking of connections, we've got Rockland and Bergen County connected into Pan at the Rockland Bergen Music Festival this year, the 27th and 28th of June, this coming Saturday and Sunday. Tickets can be had at the rocklandbergen.com website. Search Google. It's Rockland Bergen Music Festival.
It's actually rocklandmusicfestival.com.
Rockland Music
Because
Festival.
Rockland, it was just too long, so I just went to
Yeah.
rocklandmusicfestival.com. And I guess if I would have grown up in Bergen, it would have been Bergen Music.
Yeah.
But I had to, all the years, I started going to Europe, as you know, 1993, the Hooters brought me to Scandinavia. So as I would tour these European countries, and people were like, where are you from? And I would say Rockland. And I was playing in a rock and roll band. They're like, you're from Rockland and a rock and roll band. Like, come on, like that's made
Some
up.
fantasy land.
Exactly. I'm like, it's rock. So I think my third record, it was the third record, the first one that was on CD, it's Rock-Land, is Rockland. And people even more so didn't believe this was a real place because, I guess the word rock being in rock and roll. But I said, no, it's a very real place, and then as years went by, and I know there's been a lot of stories lately about the old 914 studios where Janice Ian recorded At 17, which was a #1 hit single, where Bruce Springsteen recorded the single Born to Run, or the song Born to Run, and as well as the first two records, Greetings from Asbury Park.
And Thunder Road
And the Wild-
has got Rockland roots.
Right, but the song was, I think Thunder Road was at the record plant. They had moved into New York then. But the first two records and the
But
song...
wasn't Thunder Road about Route 303?
I thought the story I always heard was that he lifted it from a Robert Mitchum movie in the 50s called Thunder Road. Mm-hmm. But it could be as well. I'm sure like as many songs as you know, and there's a little bits and pieces of
The
different
myths
things.
and legends.
So rock, and I forgot, I don't know if it was Ramones or James Taylor. Someone else had recorded up. I mean, a bunch of people used to go to that studio, and it was kind of this. And my first job as a kid was the Blauvelt Diner, which was right next door, and I had no idea that this legendary studio was right next door.
You
But
might
apparently,
have some of them coming in having coffee.
I was 14 years old, cleaning tables off, and apparently all the musicians. It's a diner next to a studio. Like I'd love there to be a diner next to every studio.
And there was still
ever.
smoking in diners at
Exactly.
that year.
Having those tie-ins to going back to why I wanted Rockland in there, and no slight to Bergen. I love Bergen. My wife's from Bergen. My kids were born in Bergen. But I think there's a little bit of the hometown feel of being from here and wanting. Also, when I was kind of putting this together, I knew I was joking with some of the folks at the Rockland Tourism Board, and I said, hey, when I told people in Asbury Park I was doing a festival in Rockland, they said, is that near Buffalo or Rochester? I said, once I said it was Rockland Bergen, they knew exactly where I was talking.
Right.
I said, because Bergen County is a bigger county, it's much more well-known, and we've always kind of been in the shadow here, and I think some of the artists have felt that over the years. I didn't initially because I started late in life, and when I started playing music, I was living in Manhattan for 7 years, so I wasn't dealing with the local, like I'm a local Rockland guitar.
Nor did you want to put on a huge public event.
Right.
Control it.
Right. So by the time I came back up here in, I guess, 96, I'd already put out 4 records, and I kind of felt, I didn't feel like I was the local musician. I kind of felt like I was a city guy. I'd come back home, but I think there's, all of us who or other songwriters I'm friendly with from the area, there is a little bit of that. We're in the shadow of a bigger thing.
Well, I've put on a few large public events, and it is not. And of course, they say, "Oh, this was so good, you should do it next year." It's like, are you kidding me? you guys put me through so much stuff trying to get licenses and permits, and the signing off from the insurance of the whatever it is.
Buying insurance.
Yeah, you got all of these elements that go into it, and the county, I can't say makes it easy. I don't know if they roadblock it, but there's a lot of hurdles.
I think a little bit less now. There's been someone new.
Yeah.
A great woman by the name of Lucy, who's come in. And the only reason I'm not saying Lucy's last name, I don't want to mispronounce it. She's now, like the county, Rockland has a tourism board now, or tourism department, which is shared. She wears 2 hats, not just dedicated, but it's nice to see that there again. They actually have a tourism logo. They're trying to really bring people into Rockland County. Listen, we sit in a town where Edward Hopper, an artist who's known worldwide, the fact that, there should be an Edward Hopper theater, or Edward Hopper.
Should be Edward Hopper statue
of
him painting.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, Nighthawks at the Diner, there's no doubt that's the corner. That Nighthawks at the Diner is that corner right there. Because I looked at some of those buildings. I spent a lot of time looking at Nighthawks and a few other Edwards paintings, and it's Main Street Nyack. He's painting that. And I was trying to do some research to find out if there ever was a diner in that corner location where the barbershop is now, or where Murasaki Japanese restaurant. It's one of those 2 corners, I think. And I couldn't find out, but it didn't have to be. Maybe he was thinking of a diner, but I'm still using these buildings as my inspiration.
Yeah. Well, he does have a few from up here.
Yes.
No doubt.
But, Helen Hayes, all the different actors who have lived here over the years. I mean, Nyack really has, and I know a lot gets put to Nyack in Piermont because there's a lot of artists in our area here, Grandview and whatnot. So it was really great this year to see the return of the Garnerville Arts Festival, which had disappeared for a couple of years, and now is back up in Garnerville with that great building with all the sculptors and some fine artists. So we really have such a great amount of art, and it seems like it's almost all on the riverside, which makes sense. Water is usually an inspirational thing.
With Havistra.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who do live in these river towns, more together, closer together, rather than out in the hills and mountains of Rockland.
Right.
There's a lot of property out there, and a lot of it's this is one end of Route 59, and the other end is Suffern.
And that's one of the challenges. I've been saying at these different meetings that I think one of the challenges of any Rockland business, especially a festival like this, is I feel like we're 3 different Rockland counties. There's the South Orangetown part, there's that middle New City Nanuet part, and then there's that Suffern to North Rockland part.
And then the way west.
Right, and sometimes people don't know what the other parts are doing.
No, of course they don't.
So I was really very happy, and I've been telling everyone to sign up. It's free. Lowhud, Gannett, now has a thing called the Rockland Angle. Robert Brum, it comes out every day at 6:30, gets delivered to your inbox, and it's just stories about Rockland County. And I've found that I now know, because I read it every day at 6:30. It takes 5 minutes, quick scan, go over different stories. In just the 1 month that I've been getting it, I know more about Rockland in 1 month than have known in years. So I thought that was a step in the right direction. I think Gannett and Lowhud they've been hearing for a long time that when people read the Journal News, it seems like it's very Westchester based all the time. So now you have a spot, besides on their lowhud.com, hitting Rockland or Sullivan, one of the counties.
Right.
You also then have something delivered to your email box every day. That's Rockland Stories. So, as you have events coming up at this great theater, boom, let me send you the story. And I think they want to tell people in Rockland what's going on in Rockland. So it's a good thing.
Yeah,
You know,
it is a good thing.
and guys like you.
I don't know if it's as good as the Rockland Bergen Music Festival, though.
I know that's what I'm here to promote, but I'm also, but at the same time, in the promoting of the different artists, you've been such a great cheerleader of other artists, other actors, different things you've done in this theater and stuff here at this radio. And I think I've been in every the one in the home studio, the one in the light actor,
the basement, the old ex-hair salon,
the one up in Suffern. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been in all 4 incarnations. I've visited, and that's. That's easy. Anyone can do that. Right?
I'm surprised no one else has. But
it's hard work.
Yeah,
it's hard.
especially on a daily grind, consistently, year after year.
There is a really fine line between labor and love and insanity.
I'm not sure I know where that is, though.
And sometimes that line gets blurred.
It's very blurred.
I'm sitting there at night, or you're here late, you're at 12:30 and banging things. I'm like, what am I doing here? But at the same time, then when you see a production and there's a standing ovation, when I see people at the festival and all that going on, you're like,
That's what it takes.
That's what it takes.
Yeah,
And
either you're doing it or you, and it's great. Not everyone has that kind of advantage or that kind of experience
Right.
to put things together. So not everyone has to be putting together a Rockland Bergen Music Fest, but everyone should come
Yes.
to the Rockland Bergen Music Festival to enjoy all this great local talent and talent from our region, from the nation. Any international stars? In fact, there are international. So you're an international
I'm an
star.
international. Well, I think, David Johansen. Let's start
David
there.
Johansen.
Sean Colvin, John Sebastian, Willie Nile. I mean, who's one of my dearest friends, but Willie was just on stage last week, handpicked by Pete Townsend. Pete was being honored with the Stevie Ray Vaughan Music Cares Award, and Pete picked 5 or 6 people he wanted on stage to perform that night, which were Roger Daltrey, his bandmate, Mick Jones from Foreigner, Joan Jett, Billy Idol, Bruce Springsteen, Pete Townsend, and Willie Nile.
Wow.
That was it, the whole night.
And Willie
rocked
rocks it.
He's great.
He's doing 2 both days.
He's playing with the band on Saturday, and then I've asked him on Sunday to do a solo piano performance. He just put out a new record that's just solo piano that's beautiful, and I wanted him to highlight that.
That's going to be great.
I'm really looking forward to that one. Steve Forbert, James Maddock, Jeffrey Gaines, Aztec Two-Step, Guy Davis, who's a wonderful bluesman with Spook Handy, Joe Grishecki, who won a Grammy doing a co-write with Springsteen, and Ed Mannion, longtime Southside Johnny and Asbury Juke sax player, just spent the last 2 years as the East Street Horns. Ed and Jay Clemens replaced Clarence the last 2 years, Clarence Clemens. So those some big shoes to fill. Garland Jeffries, who's he's incredible.
He's huge. Great showman, too.
John Eddy, who I love, who's been writing some hit songs down in Nashville. Tom Chapin, who is, I've said, I think Tom is the legacy, the lineage after Pete Seeger. It's, Tom is, he just put out a great record called 70 because he's 70 years old. He gave me a copy of it last night, and it's that lineage that goes on. He keeps, when I think of the Hudson Valley, in fact, Tom and I just did an Earth Day festival in Paramus, New Jersey, and they called me up and said, we'd like you to perform, and do you know any artists would be really great? And I said, well, there's no one better than Tom Chapin because he has songs about Earth and Earth Day. I mean, this is, this is like someone who's been very important to this area. And then there's Spook Handy, who will start off each day with a Pete Seeger tribute. Bluebirds of Paradise, which is Ari Heist, who's been on Sony for years as a songwriter, and Chrissy Poland, fantastic piano player, singer, and it was produced by Will Lee from David Letterman's band, their new record. And I think Will sometimes plays bass. I don't know if he's there that night. The Gary Douglas Band, Bob Polding Band. Bob just played with Ed and J Pack 3 nights ago with Huey Lewis in the News. And then, so that's, as far as the main stage goes, the band, which is the only cover band on the whole event. But they cover the band, which is the grandfather of all Americana music, I feel. And since this is an Americana festival,
They're very good at it.
Yeah, they're really good at it. And then a band I've never seen, because their heyday, or when they were really playing a lot, I should say, is I was too young to get into bars. And then when they've been doing reunion shows lately, I've been on the road, is Finn and the Sharks.
Right.
So I figure a good way to see them was to put them on the bill. So I will definitely get a chance to see them. Obviously, myself and Stone Caravan will play a couple of days. And then we've got Christine Santelli, KJ Denhart, and Jen Chapin, Tom's niece, Harry's daughter, all fine female songwriters. I wanted to get, last year Jen had kind of prodded me a little bit, saying there was a lack of female writers on there. And what it was, last year I just had really gotten to a bunch of my friends to come along, which tend to be male singer-songwriters. So this year I really made sure I got at least 1/3 of the bill of being some of the amazing, talented women.
You did.
And then Stefan's Turning Point Stage. I'm just going to run down the names. Slippery Chickens, great rockabilly band.
They are.
They really are. Jerry's crazy. Blue Plate Special, really fine bluegrass band from Bergen County. Arlen Bennett and the Healing Project from Tappan. Rick Illowit, who's been a real fine picker. Josh Crisano, someone I just met fairly recently, who's really, really talented. Chris Brown, who's a longtime Hunger supervisor, supporter, and great singer-songwriter. Tim O'Donoghue and TMU Band. Love Tim. I produced his record a few years ago. Bobby de Blasio,
I saw Bobby last year.
who's playing tomorrow night as well at the Turning Point. He's got his show, which he's dedicating to Stefan as well. Marianne OCL, who's a veteran performer. And then on Sunday, we got Lisa and Laurie Brigantino, who are, I went to college with them. And they've had a duo sister act for many years. George Romano, who's from Nanuet. George, I first met George when we were playing over at the Blue Hill Building in Images, when that club used to exist, where I met my first manager, Dave Kimmel. And George was fronting a band, and then he played lead guitar in Stone Caravan for about a year before going out to L.A. to do his...
Isn't that the building that the RBA is in now?
I think it is, yes. There you go. It's a full circle, right? Jeez. Kevin Cronin. It's funny, Kevin hears this all the time. It's not the REO Speedwagon Kevin Cronin. It's the Rockland County Kevin Cronin. Annie Minogue, who's really fantastic. Yeah. Daisy and Andy Cricken. Cricken, our own buddy. Him and his daughter Daisy are now doing a duo thing together.
No
piano, guitar. The Levins, which is a husband and wife, were really great. This guy Quinn Richard,
I heard of him.
I heard of him. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. Alice Leon. Alice is fantastic. Alice, she's been coming out and helping me over the last few weeks at the Palisades Center. It's great voice, really great with harmonies too. It's been great to sing with her these last few weeks. Sarah and Chuck Chesler. I first met Chuck years ago. He was the B3 organ player in Stone Caravan. He met his wife Sarah in Sweden when he was my organ player. And then they got married, and they've been living in Connecticut now for years, but they're doing a duo thing. Midnight Toast. Mark Medding and his band out of Bergen County. Kind of a six-piece rootsy jam thing. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then Emma Cullen, who is 15 years old, kind of a acoustic country-esque singer-songwriter, but with some really good stuff. I know her family, and they've been sending me videos and audio snippets of her since she was about 12.
Okay.
So I heard something recently where it had gone up to that next level, and I said, okay, why don't you come to the festival?
Good for you, getting some young.
Yeah, and again, it's people who come through my, pass through the wavelength.
Right.
So
it's a beautiful thing all the way around.
So that's a lot of talent. And I've really worked really hard keeping the ticket pricing down. We started off with an early bird special of $48 a day, which was really inexpensive for a festival like that. And that lasted for about 6 weeks. I think right now, if you go online to rocklandmusicfestival.com, single-day tickets are $56 now, which is still really, and I think the 2-day passes.
Well, there must be 16 performers a day.
Even more.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, it's about 20-something.
20-something performers in one day.
Talking at like $2 a performer, and then day of will probably be about $60. It goes up. We're trying to, obviously, when you're planning something like this, you want people to have as many people to buy tickets in advance as possible, because it just helps with planning on beverages and food and just stuff like that.
It makes it go smoother. You come right in through the door if you already got your ticket.
Right.
But this is going to be great. I had no idea you were allowed to bring tents and
Yeah,
other.
yeah, I
other
did that
things.
last year as well.
Yeah.
People
I
can-
didn't see many tents. last year.
Blankets, chairs, tents, umbrellas we're allowing. And as we get bigger, there's some things we might have to cut back on. The chairs and blankets will always exist. I think it's important for people to have some coverage.
And how early can they get into the grounds?
Parking lot opens at 9. The gates open at 10,
Mm-hmm.
and the music starts each day at 11 o'clock with Spook Handy doing about a 45-minute set as a tribute to Pete Seeger each day.
So this is a real full day of music. You can get there early enough, set yourself up, pretty much pick the spot you want to be at. If you bring your tent or your lounge chair or your umbrella, which, check the weather, of course.
Mm-hmm. But there's no big storms in the forecast. So
There's
I'm
no
out.
big storms coming, and lots
little
of times
summer
they
shower, right.
pass by without even hitting us. But you can't ask for more entertainment.
There's one thing I keep forgetting to say that at least 5 women last night said to me, you need to mention this, because as a guy, maybe I don't think about it. There's real bathrooms. There's no porta-johns. This isn't like Festival Porta-John hell. When they built this great park, they built this bathroom building that literally has, I think...
It's almost like campgrounds.
Yes, yeah, and they do it for the Orangetown Summer Camp. There's 30 stalls just on the women's side,
Right.
and probably the same on the men. But it's a very large bathroom building, and a lot of females said, one of the things they dislike the most about festivals is the porta-john.
Right.
world.
Well, this is hygienically
Yes.
safe, hygienically approved by the Greater Bergen Rockland.
That's funny. Yeah, but something I just didn't think about. Someone's like, "Oh no, you got to make sure you mention that."
Yeah, this isn't like mud. When you think
No.
it's not Woodstock with mud and people chanting and turning. This is a very
Right.
family, community orientated, really nice musical event, and a great place to hear music in such a wonderful environment.
Right.
Great talent here that is well suited for the event.
Right.
Also.
Right.
It's
Right.
just a great thing for the entire family, not just for the rockers or the folkers or for the older people, but, it's great for the young people to be there with their parents, take out a blanket,
Mm-hmm.
get some great food. Last year we had some really great sausage and peppers,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
burgers
sure.
were great. Beers are always good.
Now there's gonna be more beer, craft beers this year.
Craft
so,
beers,
yeah.
probably more food vendors.
Yeah, yeah. Organic ice creams.
Organic ice cream you can take out with you. No coolers.
No, I and one of the things, and I've answered every question online and put up the do's and don'ts, was there's no coolers, no knapsacks, no outside food or beverage. Everything's in, which made me work, and I've tried to get this message out super hard with the vendors are keeping prices really reasonable to inexpensive, because I personally hate going to be at a stadium for a ball game or an arena and getting gouged.
Yeah.
Not that I'm overpaying, I'm getting gouged. So my choice is not to eat or drink anything, or to go to suck
Which
it up.
isn't healthy.
No, but
You gotta be able to
I don't
offer
see how someone sits there in an office and makes a decision that $7.75 for a bottle of water or $12.50 for a can of beer. Like, who is making? I mean, listen.
Well, it's not. We're not seeing the Yankees here,
Right,
which
right.
I think those are ridiculously
Right.
overpriced.
But if you go to
tickets.
Madison Square Garden,
Yeah, but to go see the
$7
you used to be able
for
to see a ball game
Right.
for $7,
right, or $7.50 for a hot dog.
Yeah, and you can even get there
Right.
at bat day
Right.
for $7
Right.
and come home with
There's
a bat.
plenty of items on our thing will be $2, $3, $4. A couple of maybe bigger plates, it might be 6, 7, but nothing. I have to thank Posa. I have to thank Bailey's, Denise Marie.
Bailey's
Catering.
is going to be on
Bailey's-
grounds.
Oh yeah, Bailey's has a huge menu.
Bailey's Smokehouse at the Rockland Bergen
Yes.
Music Fest.
That's
okay,
all, that's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. The best place around. One of the best
They're gonna have a
places
grill?
around. Oh yeah.
They
Oh yeah.
grill
No,
everything?
they just did the Growler and Gill Festival,
Right.
which I played music at.
Okay, all right.
Full spread, 10 items on the menu, and
Yeah. So come hungry too.
and there's stuff for vegetarians as well. Yeah, they just did a great job.
So this is the weekend to start your summer off.
Yes.
This is it. This will get you in the summer feeling. It's the weekend before 4th of July. No better way to start the summer off than a fistful of festival music.
I like that. Fistful of festival.
Brought to you by Joe Dorso, who's today's its birthday. So you can go online and hit up Joe for his birthday. Let me remind you. And what else? That's the Rockland Bergen Music Festival.
Speaking, the whole. I was just having coffee this morning with Pete Danish, who's a fantastic supporter of the arts and an author himself. Right, and a
Peter
great
Danish.
artist. And we're talking about the Facebook phenomenon of when it's your birthday now. And being in a touring band, we've gotten up to like 5,000 friends, and we had to start a band page. So this morning when I woke up, and I felt very, I guess people, you get your reminder of so-and-so's birthday, you see a list, like, oh, I'm going to say hello. So there was like 1,000 emails in my box this morning. I'm like, oh my God. Now, fortunately, they get put on Gmail in a separate section because I've got a lot of stuff going on for the festival. I'm like, how am I going to sort all through this? But they're separated. But it was so nice that, people some folks you don't know, they're supporters of your music and band, and it's just really nice they did that. But then you see someone who you met and kind of, I remember having a few beers with this guy in Norway, or this is so-and-so's buddy in Italy or Chicago, and and those things pop up. And I think it's a very it's a new phenomenon still.
It's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. It's really kind of. I'm sure while we're sitting here, luckily and thankfully, I'll have 100 more in the email.
You want to thank everyone online.
Thank you online for those
wishes.
Thank you for sending birthday wishes. Actually, I think when I posted this, I'm like, going to be at rocklandworldradio.com, 12:30, 1:30. Tune in. Great show. By the way, thank you for all the birthday wishes because I figured I'd get that message out.
You're going to go one by one.
Well, yeah, I think you have to do the mass.
There's no other way to go about it.
Yeah.
Although I answered everyone one by one.
Did you really? You're only making me feel
mine
guilty.
comes toward the end of the year, so I get to add and have a
You're
happy New Year.
Good. Right. All right. I might have to switch my birthday then.
Or have a great summer.
Have a great summer.
Thanks
Right.
for the birthday wishes. Hope you have a great summer.
All right, so just give me more work to do, Richard. Thank you. I appreciate it.
There's got to be some way to group that. Hey, Facebook people, see if we could send out a group thing to all of individually.
Right.
Like you can send a group letter out from email.
I think you just kind of post on your page, hey, thanks for all the great wishes. But the way the logarithms work, not everyone sees that.
No, not everyone does see it. It's just the personal messages. You can go right under them and send them back a personal message.
Exactly.
They got to be working on that, Facebook, okay? As a suggestion from us, who get 5,000 birthday wishes over here. Rockland Bergen Music Festival. Rockland Bergen Music Festival this weekend, the only way to start your summer off. Okay, we're going to say goodbye now.
Thank you, Richard. As always, thanks for supporting. Look forward to hearing you singing. You guys come out and catch him.
I'm looking forward to doing
Richard
some
is
singing
on 3:25 p.m. on Stefan's Turning Point stage on Sunday, June 28th. Which will be the second of the 2 days, but it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be there. Thanks for having me on stage, and I look forward to seeing everyone at the Rockland Bergen Music Festival Saturday, June 27th, and Sunday, June 28th. Until then, Rockland Bergen Music Festival.
Woo! Thank you.
It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.